From routinely practicing dangerous pit maneuvers, even on pregnant women in Arkansas.
Video shows a terrifying scene at an attempted traffic stop in Arkansas. You can see a state trooper deliberately bumping a woman's car, causing it to hit the median and then flip over. That woman was pregnant at the time. The officer said he performed the maneuver because the driver was speeding and did not pull over.
Are you the only one in the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm pregnant.
Well, ma'am, you've got to pull over when we stop.
I had my flash.
It doesn't matter, ma'am.
I thought it would be safer to wait until the exit.
No, ma'am, you should pull over when law enforcement stops you, okay?
To shamelessly torturing two black men in Mississippi.
In Mississippi, 6 former law enforcement officers have pleaded guilty to federal charges after investigators say the white officers tortured 2 black men for hours, then tried to cover up the crime.
To handcuffing a woman in the back of a patrol cruiser on a railroad track in the path of an oncoming train in Colorado. Even to releasing a dog on a surrendering man in Ohio. I am positive that the current American law enforcement problem isn't systemic. They're just a continual series of isolated complications. It's just a few bad apples. And if you believe that, then I've got a couple moon fragments to sell you that I personally acquired from NASA's green screen room. You remember the incident that recently happened in Circleville, Ohio, where a cop, Ryan Speakman, released a canine on a man who was on his knees with his hands in the air. And if you don't remember that, let me refresh your memory. I'm going to stop it before the canine reaches the man, but I want you to notice the position the man was in and what happens when Officer Ryan Speakman releases the dog. Watch this.
This morning, growing outrage over this police body camera footage.
All right, just to be clear, this is Speakman and this is his dog, Surge. Watch what happens when he immediately releases the dog. Where does the dog go?
Showing an officer releasing a canine to attack it.
He is headed toward this officer right here. This dog is so confused. This highly trained, taxpayer-funded dog is so confused, he doesn't know who he's going to. Because they're trained to go after aggressors. The guy that Speakman wants his dog to go after is on his knees right here. See, right off the left shoulder of this cop right here? The guy is on his knees, and by the time the dog turns around, he'll have his hands in the air, which is a little confusing to Canine Surge.
Unarmed black driver surrendered.
Look at this. The dog's going after him. He's got his hands up. He's on his knees. Now, I'm going to stop it there, but guess what? Ryan Speakman got fired, but he didn't get fired according to this right here, because what you're seeing right here is according to police policy. Check this out. Fired Circleville police officer disciplined for talking about dog mauling incident. Why was he disciplined? Why was he fired? He was fired for talking about the incident, not for doing the incident, because the incident was actually covered by police department policy. This is outlandish, unbelievable. The thing you think he would get fired for, he didn't, because it's protected by policy. The thing he got fired for was talking about the thing that was covered by department policy. Circleville Police Chief G. Sean Baer last week fired his police dog handler following an attack on an unarmed and compliant truck driver, by the way, who was pulled over because he was missing a mud flap. You could literally almost lose your life in America because you're missing a mud flap. Who was on his knees with his hands up. But the termination was not because Officer Ryan Speakman violated police policy by unleashing his dog Surge, who mauled driver Jadarius Rose for more than 40 seconds. 40 seconds, it just has to have seemed like an eternity to that guy. The official reason for the firing on Thursday was for not meeting the standards and expectations we hold for our police officers. You know that thing that we approved of that you did that everybody else can see that was wrong? That's not why we're firing you, because you did that. We're firing you because you talked about the thing that we protect by department policy. And now, according to a letter from Baer dated July 25th, we're going to read some of that. So stay tuned, because it's just mind-blowing and eye-opening. A week before the firing, Speakman was punished for crying speaking with colleagues and others, providing misleading information, and having stress-related behavior related to the incident and attention he was receiving. So, in other words, because he was speaking so much about the thing that department policy protected, he was fired. Which makes you wonder, they must not want the public to know that they have a departmental policy that you can release a dog on somebody who's compliant and surrendering. Signed by Baer, but with no recipient named, the letter titled Chief Baer's Involvement with Ryan Speakman, July 19th through July 21st states, I explained to him that his conduct was not beneficial to himself or the agency. Baer said he had this conversation with Speakman on July 19th, 2 weeks after the incident, and that he ordered Speakman to remain silent. Hey, Speakman, stop talking about the thing that our department's policy protects. Stop it. But the next day, Baer wrote, Speakman continued to discuss with others the State Highway Patrol stop of Rose and the dog mauling incident, at times tearfully, prompting Baer to then order an internal investigation of Speakman, not because he did something heinous to a fellow human being who was compliant and surrendering, but because he kept talking about being bummed out about what happened during the incident. Baer ordered Speakman to provide him with the names of everyone he had spoken to about the incident. This is crazy. At one point, Baer wrote in the letter that Speakman was so concerned about the Belgian Malinois Serge, with whom he lives, that, quote, he was begging that I not take his best friend from him. Baer told him that he had no intention of doing so if Speakman hasn't done anything wrong. I reminded him that we were following policy and to allow us the time it takes to follow the policy. On July 21st, Speakman was placed on paid administrative leave. So the tax cattle get to pay for that one too. It was only after the dispatch and other media reported on the incident that Speakman was fired. And that happens in so many cases because they want to protect the thin blue line. But if public outrage ascends above their desire to protect the Fraternal Order of Police Brothers, well, guess what they're going to do? They're going to acquiesce and they're going to succumb to what the public wants and what the public's demanding. We see this a lot of times, which shows that they're not honest. They're not concerned about justice, because if they were, they would do justice whether one person was watching them or 100,000 people were watching them, calling them to account and requesting transparency. Neither Baer nor anyone else in the city informed the public that 2 days after the July 4th mauling, a 7-member review board had already concluded that Speakman had, quote, acted within departmental policy. Let me remind you what acting within departmental policy looks like. This is acting within departmental policy, guys.
This police body camera footage showing an officer releasing a canine to attack an unarmed black driver surrendering after a highway.
There he goes. He's about to get attacked. And according to the 7-member review board, that is acting within departmental policy. So that's not why Ryan Speakman was fired. He was fired because he kept talking to people about, man, I don't like what's happening here. And they're going, shut up. This is within departmental policy. Be quiet and you'll keep your job. And had done nothing wrong. If you sent your dog to attack a guy who's on his knees with his hands in the air, what do you think would happen to you? Do you think the 7-member review board would look at what you did and declare that you have done nothing wrong? All but one of the board members are Circleville police employees, of course. Well, no, we investigated ourselves and we found that our officer, brother, and fellow Fraternal Order of Policeman had done nothing wrong. Instead of punishment, the board, the names of which have not been released to the public, and everybody should know the names and the faces of the 7-member review board. Let's look at some of this letter. Friday, July 25th, 2023, Chief Baer's involvement with Ryan Speakman, July 19th to July 21st. On Wednesday, July 19th, 2023, I spoke with Ryan Speakman about reports I received that he was crying and talking with other employees about being stressed over the July 4th, 2023 K-9 deployment. You know, the mauling of an innocent truck driver. This conversation took place in Deputy Chief Davis' office with him present along with HR Director Valerie Dilley. I told him that Department Chief Davis had already told him that he needed to stop going around to everyone talking about the deployment, which our policy protects. We don't want a whole bunch of people knowing that our policy protects that, Speakman. Shut up. The review board had convened and everything appeared that the deployment was within policy and training guidelines. So they train people in their department to deploy vicious canines against people who are innocent, who are on their knees with their hands up and compliant. Really? I think the entire world needs to know about this. I think the entire world needs to see this video, and the fact that Ryan Speakman didn't lose his job and wasn't arrested and didn't go to jail because of what he did to a fellow human being. He just lost his job because he kept talking about something that a policy protects. He was reminded that he had training scheduled with Shallow Creek on the week of July 31st, and that they were going to provide their review not only of the July 4th incident, but additionally their review of both KPD K9 teams and their performance. I explained to him that his conduct was not beneficial to himself or the agency. HR Director Dilly told him she would provide him with information on stress management resources available to him. I told him that for the next 2 days, I wanted him to assist Sergeant Fairley with some of his duties. And then it just keeps on going. And basically what it ends with is Ryan Speakman, who released a dog on a compliant, surrendering human being. Speakman was fired because he kept talking about something that a policy protects, an act so heinous that even a first grader could see that it's wrong. Leave your thoughts about this. This is just crazy, crazy business. This, if it weren't for police, who would release dogs to maul innocent people? Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know. Don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. If you haven't done so already, support the channel. The links are in the description. Grab a hard-hitting conversation starting shirt that you can put on you can get a design on a shirt, hoodie, mug, cell phone case, whatever you want. This is just crazy to me. The price of freedom is now and will always be eternal vigilance. Indifference to this notion is the means by which the people have and will secure their own oppression. I will see you in the next video.